when I wake up at night, I gotta know the time. Can I sleep some more? Out of bed I climb. Check throughout my work day, counting down to lunch. Looking at my wrist all day, checking the time a bunch. It's not just about the time, it's part of my identity. The character of the design, exhibiting my complexity. The colors, my mood, rushed out the house without it, I'm screwed. Without my watch, feel nude. It's part of my life, it's who I am. I'm a big time watch lover, a huge ass fan. I know my phone has a clock, but I don't care. My phone lacks the flair. My watch shows my personality, my individuality. My interest in love, I keep buying more to satisfy my urges. I can't stop collecting, overspending splurges. Emptying the bank, now I got too many payments on Bezel services. Quartz or auto, and yeah, you need to win the lotto to buy some complications. You spend a little, you spend a lot, chasing your grails and buying what's hot. Put on your diver or dress watch today, classy for the office or rugged to play. Oh, 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 oh. My individuality. I keep buying more to satisfy my urges. I can't stop collecting, overspending splurges. Emptying the bank, now I got too many payments on Bezel services. Quartz or auto, and yeah, you need to win the lotto to buy some complications. You spend a little, you spend a lot, chasing your grails and buying what's hot. Emptying the bank, now I got too many payments on Bezel services. Quartz or auto, and yeah, you need to win the lotto to buy some complications. You spend a little, you spend a lot, chasing your grails and buying what's hot.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me as always. My name is Jim, and I'm here to share with you today a new watch from RZE called the Aspirare. Aspirare, as you would imagine, is Italian, and it means to aspire. Now, from the get-go, we can see that the RZE is about adventure, not just about horology. And we can see the case that it ships in as a good example of that. Because instead of shipping in a traditional watch box, you've got an EDC case that you see here. Now, this is a nice little EDC case or a travel case that you can use to put in multiple watches if you're going on a trip. You could put a few watches in there. You could put your passport, any IDs, phone accessories, charging cables, USB drives, a couple of pocket knives in these little slots, a couple of pens, anything that you want. These are really, really handy. And the front section here is done with the loop section of Velcro so that you can put Velcro vinyl patches on here. And I'll tell you this right now, be careful of that because getting into patch collecting is also quite addictive as well. You can represent your favorite brands in various EDC items, like here I have all patches for knives, Heretic knives, Devo knives, and Jack Wolf knives, some of my favorites. And there's vinyl patches for pretty much anything, almost like bumper stickers or t-shirts. You can get them with different sayings and things like that. And a lot of the EDC gear that we buy, whether it be knife related, hunting related, gun related, they have advertising by way of PVC patches. So a lot of people like to decorate these kind of pouches with patches like that just to give an individualistic representation of their personality in something that they're carrying with them all day, every day. And maybe you're carrying this as almost like an oversized wallet or man purse, and you've got a lot of your daily needs taken care of in here. Maybe you've got your medications in here. Maybe you're diabetic and you have an insulin kit in here and your medical cards and stuff like that. could be something that you use on a daily basis. So I like this because they're not just thinking about how to protect the watch in shipment and delivery, but also giving you something that you can actually use. Because RZE is a Singapore-based EDC outfitter who not only makes watches, but also some other EDC items as well. Totes, a knife or two, carabiners, and other EDC gear. So, of course, this brand is right up my alley. Now, let's get a look at the watch. And the first thing that you're going to notice about the Aspirare is the size of it. It's 44 millimeters. I am so happy to see another rare instance of a micro brand making a men's watch in a men's size. I'm not like most people. I don't want to see brands that are only catering to one market, whether big or small wrists. I want everyone to be included without shutting anyone out. So what I would love to see on this watch is a 40 and a 44 millimeter version. I think that would be fantastic. But the problem is most brands will only focus on the delicate little wrist these days for some odd reason, like it's the 1950s. If you want it to appear smaller, fine. You have two different bezels that this is going to ship with, and you can use one bezel or the other, whichever one makes you feel that it looks larger or smaller. You're also going to have the availability for rubber straps as well. We'll get to that in just a minute. Rubber strap aside, every watch will ship with two bezels, no matter which variant of the watch you select. If you select the diamond white dial or the black dial, you will get the black DLC bezel as well as the gray. Whether you choose the bracelet variation or you choose the fluoro rubber strap variation, you will receive both bezels. And if you choose the kit like I have, where you get the bracelet and the strap, you also still get both bezels as well. Now, I think it's important to get to the specs, so let me lay this down very quickly here, and we'll talk about the specifications on this watch, your sizes, materials, all that kind of good stuff. In your case diameter, again, you're looking at a 44 millimeter case with a thickness of only 13 millimeters. That's a really nice size for the water resistance that you're getting here. You've got 22 millimeter lugs, and that bracelet tapers from 22 millimeters down to 20 millimeters at the clasp. From lug end to lug end, the length of the watch is going to be 53 millimeters. So yes, this is a larger sized watch. Your crystal is sapphire. The titanium is coated in what they're calling their proprietary ultra hex coating. You've got a 300 meter water resistant professional grade diver, and the caliber is the Miyota 9015. You've got a beautifully textured dial, whether you choose the black or the white dials, and they will have applied indices filled with Swiss Superluminova and a unique handset. The bezel is going to be a 120 click bezel, and each watch, even though it's not advertised as such, it was a surprise to me when I got mine, it is an individually numbered out of a limited edition of 500 pieces on the case back. So when you look on the case back, yours will be engraved with a specific number out of the 500 pieces made. Now, the next most important thing here besides the size is going to be the material choice here. This is grade 2 titanium. Now, normally that's not a superior choice over stainless steel when it comes to longevity and finish, because titanium is softer than steel on its surface. But as I mentioned in the specs, RZE is using a special anodized coating named Ultra Hex, which beefs up the hardness to 1200 Vickers. Now, that is substantially harder than 316L stainless steel. So the Ultra Hex coating, which I assume must be a carbon-infused coating, is making the surfaces about 4 to 5 times more scratch resistant than 316L steel. Now, I have changed out this bezel a number of times for the photography, and what I'm going to be doing, by the way, in the latter half of this video, is I'm going to switch the bezel out to my favorite bezel, which is the gray, so that you get a chance to see this watch in every configuration that it's available from the factory with. Now, I've changed out this bezel a number of times, and here, under my lens, I don't see any scratches on the bezel around the hardware where I may have slipped with the screwdriver. So I would say that the coating probably works really, really well. One of the things that I really appreciate about the RZE design is that everything is very angular, very geometric, and these flat beveled areas catch the light in different ways, which is difficult to achieve because this entire watch is bead blasted in finish. So with this matte bead blasted finish, it only has vertical satin on the case middle on the outside edges. There are no shiny areas. There's nothing polished. There are no contrasting finishes to catch the light. So they achieve that by having these different facing flat surfaces, and I really dig that. The other thing that I like is the shape of the links of the bracelet. It gives it a very three-dimensional feel. The bezel does have a DLC coating in there, so that black is diamond-like carbon coating, and each of the indices and numerals are going to be filled with Superluminova as well, so you get that wonderful glowing effect throughout the entire watch. The case also features drilled lugs, so if you have any issues whatsoever changing out straps, which you shouldn't, you can always use your spring bar tool in there to depress the spring bar and pop your strap out. Now, the strap that comes in the kit, or if you purchase the rubber strap variant, is going to have the quick release spring bars, so you don't have to worry about using a tool anyway. And also, same goes for the bracelet. You do not need a tool to remove or reinstall the bracelet because it has the quick change pinch spring bars as well. So this watch is as easy as you can get to change its personality. Now, if you want to further change the personality by swapping out the bezel, that's going to be a little bit more involved. You need the tiniest jeweler's screwdriver that you can get. You want to have a very steady hand. These are very short threaded screws. If you drop one, it's gone forever. So luckily, RZE supplies you a Ziploc baggie with 3 additional screws. So you've got 3 chances, and I think you'll be just fine. You have a nice, effective AR coating on the underside of the sapphire crystal. So it is a mostly glare-free experience on the dial, which I really, really like. And I like the crispness of this diamond white dial. That's why I chose this over the black. The other reason I chose this over the black is because no matter which color dial you choose, you get a black and a gray bezel. I didn't feel that the gray bezel would look good against the black dial. So what I wanted to do was have a nice, stark black and white contrast at times by having the black bezel, and I wanted to have this really cool monochromatic look with the titanium by having the gray bezel on there. So for me, this worked out the best, and that's why I selected the white to go with. And I think this is probably a good time to go ahead and show you how this watch plays in its different personalities. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the bracelet, which again, fingernail under that tab, thumbnail under this tab, squeeze together, and this simply pops right out. Same thing on the other side. I need to know which is the 6 o'clock side. That is. The longer side of the strap always goes at 6 o'clock. Pinch, pop that on there. Buckle side always goes at the 12 o'clock side. Oops, And always listen for that click. And there we go. Now it popped in. So now you have the most diving look, the sportiest of all, on the fluoro rubber strap. Now, this thing is going to take to a lot of different straps really, really well. NATO straps. I wouldn't personally put a leather strap on here because I think dive watches look funny on a leather strap because you know it's a dive watch and you know leather doesn't belong in the water unless you have specially treated water-resistant leather straps. So there are a lot of different ways you can go, a lot of different looks. And I think also because of the neutrality of the black and white, it may open you up to a few colors, maybe a gray strap, a red strap, yellow, orange, blue. I think a lot of different looks could look good on this. Now, the prices start at $559 like this on the rubber strap. If you choose the bracelet-only option, that one's $659. And if you want the whole kit that gives you both the rubber and the titanium bracelet, that's $699. So that one is the better value proposition because you get more for a smaller bump in the money. And as I said, no matter which variant you choose, you will always get both bezels included. Now, is it worth it? In my opinion, yeah. There are a few brands offering titanium watches these days, but they're charging a very high premium to get into titanium. And you'll see that on models where they manufacture them in steel or titanium options. And you'll often pay $300-400 just to get into titanium in many micro brands. In premium brands, you know, when you're talking Breitling and stuff like that, you could be paying into the thousands of dollars to get into a titanium variant. So if you're like me and you have a lot of titanium goodies in your EDC rotation, this is going to fit in very, very well. You've got that warmer color temperature of titanium. You have, of course, the fact that it is completely hypoallergenic. There's no nickel in that case back to give you any kind of allergic reaction, no rashes or red marks. And it cannot rust or corrode. All you need to do when you get out of the sea water, out of the salt water, is rinse off so that water gets underneath your bezel to get the crusty sea salt out from underneath your bezel, and or simply remove the bezel with the 3 screws. Now that is, from what I understand, the main reason why they chose to make the removable bezel was to be able to get salt out from in there. And I do believe, I have not tested it, I should have brought out a magnet to do so. I do believe that the ring holding the bezel that's on the case, around the case opening, may be steel. So let's go ahead and show you what that looks like and swap out the bezel very quickly. I'm not going to do that on camera because it's a tricky little process and it can be a real pain in the butt, and my hands are going to cover 95% of what I'm doing anyway. So let me go ahead and switch that out. I'll be right back. Actually, as I think about it, I just realized I had not shown you what it looks like on the wrist on the rubber strap. I like the fact that it's pretty low profile. It's not very tall at 13 millimeters in thickness. And there are definitely some people that are going to say 44 millimeters is just too big for me. I can't do it. My wrist is now down in size to just about 7¼ inches. I've had an 8-inch wrist for most of my life, and it still fits me phenomenally well. Okay, here is your look at it with the bezel removed. Give you an idea of just what's going on under there. So while this most likely is titanium, I think it could possibly be an insert of stainless steel because The bezel does glide a little nicer than you would normally feel titanium on titanium. But I don't know. I can't be certain of that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put the other bezel on there and see how it looks. And there we go. This is the way that I prefer it slightly. It's not like it's a huge thing, but I do like that monochromatic look as the look of titanium is brought up into the bezel. I think it's a very handsome, clean look. I really like how that comes off. Now, one of the things that I have not mentioned yet is the fact that you have a micro adjustment right back here, like some other brands we have seen doing in divers. So it's very quick and very easy. You can simply ratchet into place and it locks into place, and you unlock it by pulling on that tab. Let's go ahead and get this on the wrist. They did a really good job of making this bracelet very, very comfortable. It doesn't snag arm hair. It's lightweight. It's nice and flexible. Wraps around the wrist very nicely. And it's got a very clean looking clasp on it. Nice dual pusher design. Scissor style clasp inside, so it's nicely milled. Now I think it's important to show you the Lume, because honestly, Lume is some of the most fun we can have with our dive watches. Nice clean Lume. You've got both blue and green. I don't really know how I feel about that. Most of the time, I like that combination, but it depends on how it's laid out. Here they've chosen a rather odd way of doing it, with the hour hand in green and the minute hand in blue, and the pip on the seconds hand being blue as well, against green trapezoidal shape hour markers, and then the blue up in the bezel. It's a weird combination the way that it was laid out, but I don't mind it. I don't think it looks bad. It's just different. Now, I can't get it to go pitch black here in my studio, but let me see if I can throw up a little bit of a block to get rid of a little bit of the light that's seeping into the studio. All right, that's about the best I can do for right now, and I've set up a castle of bounce cards and blackout cards and things like that just to try to block out a little bit of the escaping light. And yep, that's what you're going to be seeing. Now, I will say this, the Lume is really, really good. I'm thinking it might be Superluminova X1 compound because it lasts completely through the night. As long as your eyes are already adjusted to the dark, or they've been closed for a few hours, or they've been in the dark for a while, and your pupils are dilated, you'll be able to read the time easily throughout the entire night until the sun comes up. I tested that for the past couple of nights. It works out just fine. Very happy with the luminescent performance on this. It doesn't dim too quickly. It's wonderfully legible throughout the night. It's exactly what you want it to be. Now, let's get the lights back on and play with it a little bit more. Now, here's the best part. I've had a chance to work with RZE to give you guys a coupon code, so if you choose to order any of their watches, you get a chance to save 10%, which honestly, at the $700 price point, is kind of a big deal. Now, again, $559 on rubber, $659 on titanium bracelet, or $699 for both the rubber and the titanium bracelet, and the choice is up to you. And I got to tell you, for a watch this size to be this comfortable, I think it's worth looking into brands that will do these in titanium. I've always been the kind of person that never minded wearing a heavier watch, so stainless steel was never a big deal for me. But I'll tell you this, after having owned a few titanium watches in my lifetime, at this point in my life, now that I don't wear big, giant monster watches, I don't go over 44 millimeters except on a very rare special occasion. Maybe to get a complication I couldn't get otherwise. Again, go back to my Nubeo Skylab watch. On that review, it's a 48 millimeter watch. It's crazy. But to get that complication, you're going to get into a larger watch. But generally, I'm 42 to 44 millimeters. And now, while I appreciate a smaller size and a slimmer size, I'm beginning to appreciate some lighter weight on the wrist as well. So I think whenever possible, whenever there's an option, when I'm getting into a watch that's closer to the 44 millimeter size, I might want to search out titanium-based models just to make sure that I have the utmost in comfort, because there's nothing worse than picking your watch for the day, putting it on, heading out the door, and then going, well, I really don't feel like wearing that today. There's just something about it I don't want to wear. Now you've got to go back to your watch boxes, try different watches on, see what's going to fit your mood, see what's going to fit with what you're wearing, and that's a pain in the butt. Once you've made that decision, you should be able to just run out the door with that decision made and be happy. So with this, I think that's going to make it a little bit easier. The days that I feel like wearing a larger looking watch, it'll be certainly easier to wear it in titanium. And again, I love the way the light dances off of this bracelet. They did a fantastic job. After that whole rant about titanium, I would tell you this right now. If they made, and they don't because all their watches are titanium, but if they ever made a steel version of this watch where they did alternating bead blasting and polishing throughout this particular shape of bracelet, I would probably buy one of those just to have that sparkling, that light effect that would come off of that. I'm not saying RZE should make any of their watches in stainless steel, but I think that effect would come out really, really cool. Anyway, that's my look at the RZE Aspirare, and I am not fluent in Italian, so I hope that any Italians in my audience don't cringe when they hear me say it like that, but that is the name, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I'm enjoying it. This is another one of those watches that it's difficult to take off just because I'm done with the review. It's like I just want to keep it on and keep wearing it and keep enjoying it and go through that natural honeymoon phase and ignore every other watch in my collection for a while. But that's even tougher because I just got a whole bunch of really awesome watches. I got a new Spinnaker, and I've got several new Aviate watches, and I'll be sharing all those with you here soon, and they're all pretty darn cool. So, how long is this honeymoon going to last? I don't know, but I'm sure going to enjoy it while it does. See you guys on the next video.